I never imagined that the worst chapter of my life would begin. After my husband died, people think grief is loud. Crying, screaming, collapsing. But mine was quiet. It sat in my chest like a heavy stone I carried everywhere. This is Doreen Revenge Stories. When truth hurts, my stories heals. My husband Daniel was not just my partner, he was my safe place. We had been married for 8 years. Not perfect years, but honest ones. We built our life slowly, carefully, with love and patience. When he died suddenly after a brief illness, my world stopped. The house became too quiet. His shoes stayed by the door. His cup was still on the kitchen shelf, exactly where he left it. And his mother was suddenly everywhere. At first, she acted like a grieving woman. She cried loudly at the funeral. She held my hand and told everyone. My son loved her so much. I believed her. I needed to believe her, but grief has a way of peeling away masks, and soon, hers fell. After the burial, she insisted I return to her home with her. Tradition, she said. You shouldn't stay alone. I was too tired to argue, too broken to think clearly. So I followed her, carrying my grief, my fear, and my confusion into a house that never truly welcomed me. The first week was quiet. Too quiet. Then the comments started. You've lost weight. You don't cry like a woman who loved her husband. You should be stronger. Each sentence landed like a small stone thrown at my chest. I tried to ignore it. I told myself she was grieving too. But then came the night she said something that changed everything. She looked at me across the dinner table and said calmly, "You know, if my son had lived, things would have been different." I asked what she meant. She smiled. Not kindly. Not warmly. "You were never our first choice for him." That was the moment I realized. Her tears at the funeral were not for her son. They were for control she thought she had lost. Weeks passed. My grief was still raw, but hers turned into something else. Bitterness. She began questioning everything. Why Daniel left me certain documents. Why his savings account had my name. Why I still lived in the house we built together. One evening, she called a family meeting. I wasn't prepared. Relatives I barely knew sat around the living room, whispering, watching me like I was on trial. She stood up and said, "We need to talk about my son's property." My heart dropped. She spoke as if I wasn't there. She's still young. She remarry. She forget my son. But this house, this land, it belongs to his blood. Blood. As if love meant nothing. As if marriage meant nothing. As if I meant nothing. I tried to speak, but she raised her hand. "You don't need to talk," she said. "This is family business." That was the day I stopped being a wife in their eyes and became an outsider. From that day on, the hostility was no longer hidden. She stopped calling me by my name. She referred to me as that woman. She began locking certain rooms. She controlled who I spoke to. She monitored my phone calls. And then, she made her first demand. "You should sign a document," she said casually one morning. "What document?" I asked. "Just something to protect the family." She said it like it was nothing. I asked to read it. She laughed. "You don't trust us." I asked for time. Her face hardened. "Don't forget," she said, leaning closer. "You're only here because we allow it." That night, I didn't sleep. For the first time since my husband died, fear replaced grief. I reached out to someone I trusted. A friend Daniel once introduced me to. When I told her everything, she went quiet. "Do not sign anything," she said firmly, not without understanding it. The next morning I refused, and that was when her true cruelty surfaced. She accused me of disrespect, of ingratitude, of planning to erase her son's legacy. She cried in front of relatives again. But this time, the tears were weapons. Soon, people began avoiding me. Whispers followed me through the house. I was no longer grieving. I was suspected. Then came the final blow. One evening, she sat me down and said, You should leave this house. I thought I misheard. This is my home, I said softly. She shook her head. It was my son's home, and my son is gone. Those words broke something inside me. I packed my things quietly that night, not because I had nowhere to fight, but because I finally understood something painful. She didn't want justice. She wanted erasure. I left with only my clothes, my memories, and unanswered questions. But I didn't leave defeated, because as I stood at the door, she said something she didn't know would haunt her. You think you're strong, she sneered, but you have nothing. She was wrong. I had something she forgot about, the truth, and a document my husband had hidden, one I hadn't yet opened. I walked away into the night, not knowing what that document contained. But I knew one thing with certainty. My husband's death was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of a battle his mother never saw coming. And what I discovered next changed everything. 3 days after I left my mother-in-law's house, a court notice arrived. Ruth had done it. She was taking me to court. The accusation was heavy, that I manipulated Daniel, that I forged documents, that I was hiding properties, that I caused division in the family. I read the papers slowly, my hands shaking. I had no lawyer, no family backing me, no money, just the truth. And sometimes, truth feels too small to fight lies. In the courtroom was cold. Ruth arrived with relatives, all dressed neatly, whispering among themselves. Some avoided my eyes. Some looked at me like I was already guilty. When Ruth saw me, she didn't greet me. She sat tall, confident, like someone who believed the ending was already written. Her lawyer stood first. He spoke with confidence. He described me as a manipulative woman, a greedy wife, someone who took advantage of grief, someone who made Daniel sign documents he didn't understand. Every sentence felt like a slap. Ruth nodded slowly, tears appearing on cue. People in the courtroom murmured. I felt small, invisible. When my name was called, my legs felt weak. I stood. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I spoke slowly. I loved my husband. The room went quiet. I didn't know about any inheritance battles. I didn't force anyone to sign anything. I signed documents I didn't even understand myself. Because I trusted. I paused. My mistake was love. Then something unexpected happened. The judge asked a simple question. Were these documents signed in the presence of a legal witness? The room froze. Ruth's lawyer hesitated. He said yes. The judge asked for the witness. Silence. Then my lawyer, the one I didn't even know, had done his homework, stood up. He presented hospital records, video timestamps, messages, a medical report showing Daniel was mentally sound, and most importantly, a registered legal witness whose name Ruth had lied about. The judge leaned forward. Ruth's face changed. The witness was called. He testified calmly. He confirmed. Daniel understood everything. No coercion happened. No manipulation. No secret signing. The courtroom shifted. The whispers stopped. Ruth began to cry, not the dramatic kind. The exposed kind. Then came the judgment. The judge spoke firmly. The accusations against the widow are false. My heart stopped. All properties legally assigned remain hers. Tears filled my eyes. And this court warns against using grief as a weapon. The gavel hit. It was over. Outside the courtroom, no one spoke to me. Ruth didn't look at me. She walked away, surrounded by silence. For the first time, I felt something strange. Peace, not victory. Peace. 3 weeks after the court was over, I decided to open the envelope, which I found while sorting through old things at home. A sealed envelope with my name written in Daniel's handwriting, which his mother didn't know about. I sat down before opening it. Inside was a letter. Daniel had written to me. He said he knew his family would turn against me, that he saw the signs long before his death, that he prepared for this moment because he loved me too much to leave me unprotected. He apologized for not telling me everything while he was alive. He said I was never weak, only too kind. Tears fell onto the paper as I read. Behind the letter was a sealed legal document, a secondary will, registered and stamped. It transferred additional assets and legal authority to me, but with one condition written in his handwriting. It was to be used only if I was ever challenged, accused, or humiliated after his death. Daniel had seen everything coming. He had prepared a lawyer for my defense before he left. There was one final note folded at the back. Short, clear, he wrote, "Do not fight them with anger. Fight them with dignity. And when the truth comes out, walk away." I closed the envelope and held it to my chest. I did not confront anyone. I did not expose anyone. I met my lawyer quietly. He smiled gently, and he told me I had been protected long before the battle began. I chose silence. Weeks later, Ruth sent me a message. Just one line. I didn't know he planned that far ahead. I read it. Then I deleted it. I did not reply, because the truth had already spoken. I did not win because I fought harder. I won because love prepared me for the storm. And when everything was over, I walked away, with my dignity, my future, and my husband's final gift. Men should protect their wives and children ahead of time. My husband Daniel did that. And today I'm happy. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, hit subscribe and join the family. More truth, more power, more stories coming.